Okay, it seems to be 3 o'clock here in Finland, so we are going to start this Q&A webinar that we are holding for you today. Welcome everyone. My name is Johanna Kärki. I'm from the Admission Services of the university, and I'm joined here by my colleagues. So Paula Järvinen is in the background. She's doing all of the administrative stuff there. She's going through your questions and forwarding them to us for answers whenever you have them. So please, if you have any questions, write them in the Q&A. We will have a short presentation first, and then we will go on to your questions. And we hope to be able to answer any questions that you may have. And so please just write them at any stage you feel like you need some more information on a particular subject. But now, without further ado, we shall start. So Tuuli, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Johanna. So welcome everyone here. And let's start by looking at our agenda for today. So first, we will a little bit discuss what international degrees does the University of Turku offer, and what are the general admission criteria for our degree programs. Then we'll move on to talk about how do you apply to our programs and how should you prepare for your application. Then we'll talk a little bit about what is the application and admission timeline. And then we will discuss the tuition fees and scholarships. At the end of this presentation, we will look at the application form, what is it like, and how do you fill it out? And then we'll move on to your questions and answers. And like Johanna said, you can ask the questions in the chat all throughout this presentation, and we will answer the questions in the end. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the degrees the University of Turku offers. So we offer bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees that all follow the common European framework, where bachelor's for 3 years, master's for 2 years, and doctoral degrees for 4 years. At this moment, all of our bachelor level programs are in Finnish, so we'll focus today more on the master's degrees. The University of Turku also offers doctoral degrees in English, but that's a different, the application for that is a little bit different. So today we'll only focus on the master's degrees. Okay. Before we move on to talk about the actual programs we offer, here is a quick general recap. The key information here is that we have 17 master's degree programs with an annual intake of approximately 400 students. We are a multidisciplinary university, and we have a total of 8 faculties and offer programs in English in almost every one of them. Some of the programs are organized in collaboration of 2 or more faculties. And it is also possible to include elective courses to your degree from other faculties. Yeah, let's move on and see what kind of degree programs we have. So in the economics and business administration field, we offer future studies, which is not offered in many universities around the world. So it's a really special field we have. And then we also offer global innovation management. In the field of education, we offer education and learning. And this is a program where you become a professional in education. In the health and biomedical sciences, we offer many different programs. The first is biomedical sciences, where we have 3 different tracks: biomedical imaging, drug discovery and development, and molecular biotechnology and diagnostics. Then we offer human neuroscience program, and then our newest addition to our master's degree programs is the public mental health program. And it has its first ever intake in the next application round. Then in the natural sciences, we have exact sciences with the tracks astronomy and space physics, chemistry of drug development, materials chemistry, materials physics, mathematics and statistics, and theoretical physics. Then we offer a degree program in bioscience with the tracks evolutionary biology and molecular systems biology. And then we also have a degree program in sustainable cities and communities, which is offered in an alliance with other European universities. And then we'll move on to talk a little bit about the technology and engineering programs we offer. The first is food development, the second health technology, and then our information and communication technology offers many different tracks. So cryptography, cybersecurity, data analytics, robotics and autonomous systems, and software engineering. In our materials engineering degree program, we offer health technology materials, materials of energy technology, and modern industry materials. And in our mechanical engineering, we have digital design, digital manufacturing, and smart systems. And then in social sciences and humanities, we offer East Asian studies, European languages, cultures, and societies in contact. And then our degree program in gender studies does not have an intake for the next application period. So that is the one program you can't apply in the January 2024. And last but not least, in our English master's degree programs, the inequities, interventions, and new welfare state. So here are all of the master's degree programs we offer in English. And whatever program you are most interested in, you can find more information on our website. Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about what kind of students we are looking for. So we wish you to have your own desire and interest to learn and study independently, but the university provides a lot of support and great tools for planning your studies according to your academic goals and the future you wish to attain. Our students are required to have an appropriate level of independence, but we do offer a lot of support throughout the studies. When maybe it's best said that when you know that our degree program is the best fit for you, then we want you as our students. And a little bit about the general admission criteria. So all of our degree programs have some degree-specific criteria that you should always look into and find out before applying. But this is for all of our master's degree programs. So we do require a bachelor's degree or other first-level university degree in a relevant field. So minimum of 3 years in length, and you can also apply with an incomplete degree. So you have to graduate before August. Then we require strong English language skills, which you can prove with a language test or with a degree from certain countries. You should always check your personal situation on our website. And then, as I said before, all of our degree programs have degree-specific criteria, so you should always check which enclosures you need to attach your application. So please do that before the application period starts, so you are well prepared for the admission timeline.
Okay, yes. Well, how do you actually then apply to the programs? We first want you, before you apply, to make sure that you are choosing the program which is most appropriate to you. What is the program that gives you the tools to succeed in your future, whatever that future may be that you are aspiring to? Then you need to check what are the admission criteria to that particular program or programs. You can apply to more than one of our programs. And make sure that you are eligible. You have the relevant background and that you fulfill the other requirements. You have the English language skills, for example. If you do not have an English language proof yet, you need to be quick, because you do need to have proof of language skills when you apply to the university. So make sure that if you do not have the English language test result quite yet, you need to book the test immediately, basically. And then just make sure that you have all of the required educational documents, which means that if you have graduated from a university, you have your bachelor's degree certificate and the transcript of records showing what you've actually studied in your degree. If you have not quite yet graduated, we will, of course, accept only the transcript of records, since you cannot have the degree certificate or diploma yet because you have not graduated. But then we go on to the actual application, which is a step 2. Then you fill in and submit the application form, and it's done all online. So you do not need to send us anything on paper or by email. Everything is done on the application form. You will fill this application form in the studyinfo.fi page, where you can then apply to maximum 6 programs that are included in this joint application that we have here in Finland. So you can also choose programs in other universities. But you have to make sure that you can only apply to 3 programs maximum at the University of Turku. So make sure that you choose wisely and choose the programs that you actually want to apply to. Then when you are filling in your application form, you will need to upload the scanned documents onto the application form. So you will scan your degree certificate, your transcript, and your proof of language skills, or any other documents that may be needed in that particular program, and you attach them to the application form. It is fairly simple. We will show you quickly what the form will look like, so we'll know what we are talking about. Then you will just need to check that you filled all the parts of the application form, you've answered correctly, and make sure that you always double and triple check that you've written your email address correctly, because only in that way you will get the information that you've actually submitted the application, and you will get the confirmation to your email. But if the email address is not right in the application form, then there may be a bigger issue for you. Sorry, I'll just take this and then we'll go on forward. And then about the timeline. So when does all this happen? So it's actually very, very soon. In about 3 weeks, we open the application. So it's on the 3rd of January. The application time begins. And one thing I forgot to mention in the previous slide is that you actually cannot access the application form until the actual application time begins. So you cannot access it before the 3rd of January. Then there's only 2 weeks time to apply. So you have to apply before the 17th of January. And we do want to encourage you to fill your application form as soon as possible, meaning that you already start when the application begins, to make sure that you actually have been able to submit it. Don't do it at the last minute. There may always be an issue. Your internet connection may not be totally stable or something, and then it ends up that you are not actually submitting the application. So you have to make sure that you do that on time. And then we at the university will be going through your applications, and we will publish the results by the 4th of April. Then you will need to send us then the verified or original documents as is instructed by the end of May if you are admitted to the university. And then in the summer, you will have to accept your offered study place and pay the tuition fee, and then your studies will start in August of 2024. And as said before, the application is done through the Study Info portal. There's no application fee, so the actual application itself is free. And do not send anything on paper. Remember that. You don't have to send us anything on paper. You scan your documents, you scan your original documents, and you attach them to the application form. You will need to attach the degree certificate or a temporary provisional degree certificate if you have not yet received your final one, the transcript of study records, and these need to be translated if they are not in English, Finnish, or Swedish. If you do have a diploma supplement from, for example, a European university, then this works also as a translation. And then, of course, your proof of language skills and your passport or other official ID. Or if you already have a Finnish residence permit, please attach that to the application. And then if the program is asking for any additional enclosures, make sure that you also attach those to the application form. Sorry. And what happens after the application period has ended? So what happens after January 17th? So the last day to submit your application is Wednesday, 17th January at 3 p.m. Finnish time. So make sure that you check your application well in advance and submit it before that particular time. If for some reason you did not attach, for example, a copy of your passport by the 17th, you can still submit attachments to the application until the 24th of January. But you cannot change the application in any way, which means that you can only attach more documents if you have forgotten to attach something. Then during February, we will go through the applications, making sure that everything is there. The applicants fulfill the language requirements, they fulfill the basic education requirements, and so on. And then they will be forwarded to the programs for academic assessment. In March, the academic staff of the programs will make the final decisions on who is actually admitted to the program based on their own admission criteria, which is usually based on your academic merits from your previous degree, your possible motivation letter, or any other possible criteria that is mentioned on the pages of the program. And then in April, as I said already earlier, the results are published on the 4th of April, and also the best applicants will at that stage be offered a scholarship alongside with the admission. The tuition fee in our university range from 8,000 to 12,000 euros for one academic year. This fee is based on the time you study at the university, which means that if you study for more than 2 years, you will end up paying for a little bit more than 2 years. So basically, you pay for every semester that you spend at the university. The tuition fee covers everything a student may need while they're studying, which means the teaching, academic guidance, library facilities, lab facilities, whatever you may need with your studies. But you also do need to remember that in addition, you of course have to pay your own accommodation and everything else on top of that tuition fee. And the tuition fee also covers any extra courses you wish to do at the university, language courses, and so on. So basically, everything that the university offers to you is covered by the tuition fee. The tuition fee can be paid in 1 or 2 installments for every year, which means for the full academic year, or then the autumn and spring semester separately. And we will require you to pay the first fee by the end of July. You can pay online in our UTU online shop, or if you cannot pay with a credit card, we can also provide you with an invoice. You cannot start your studies until you have paid your tuition fee. It's as simple as that. And of course, you will pay tuition fees for the duration of your studies. But on the other hand, we also do offer general scholarships to our students. So the best students coming to the university will also get a scholarship. And with this scholarship, they can cover the tuition fee at the university. So you can get your full tuition paid, or if you are doing well in your first study year, you can possibly get a scholarship that covers your second year of studies at the university. We also do have the so-called Finland scholarship, which is a government initiative. It's paid by the Finnish government, and this scholarship is offered to the very best student in each program. So there's only 1 or possibly 2 scholarships given to students in each program. So it's the very best of the particular program who would get this scholarship. And this also includes a 5,000 euro grant in addition to this scholarship, to the tuition fee waiver. But let's now quickly have a look at the study info form, the application form, what it actually looks like, so that if you are interested, I'm sure very many of you are, what you will be filling in when you are applying to the university. So this is a test version, which means that there may be slight changes to the final one, but in most cases it looks pretty much like this. It has quite a lot of information. Make sure that you read all the information. And then when you start filling in, your first thing is that you choose your programs. So there you have application options and add study program. And there you can search for study programs. Let's start by, you can put University of Turku, or you can also, if you already know what you are going to study, you can, for example, start writing your futures studies there. And there you can see the add that future studies program. So now we are filling the application form for the future studies program. There you have again a lot of information on what you're supposed to be writing in each slot. But here you have your personal information, so your name, nationality, if you have a Finnish ID code and so forth. Quite a lot of information we're asking about you. And this is to make sure that if you are admitted, we have the information on how to contact you, for example. Then we move on to the next part, which is the permissions, which are just basically the formalities that we have to ask you if you agree to the terms of the electronic service, and if we may contact you in matters regarding education. Then a very important part is the educational background. What background do you have? In most cases, for our applicants, it is a bachelor's, master's or doctoral degree completed outside Finland. So we would choose that. And after that, you have information about that degree. So when it was completed, what degree it is, what level, what was the institution, where it was completed. So basically, you give the basic information about that particular degree there, and then you can also attach the form or the scanned documents to the form. And then if you have others, you can also add more degrees onto the information. Then a few general questions about secondary education. These are for survey reasons. We don't need them for admissions. Then we have exemption from tuition fees. So of course you already know your own situation. Do you have any of the residence permits that would exempt you from the fee? If you do not, you just click I do not have any of the above. And after that, we ask you to upload a copy of your passport or identity card. We prefer passport, so if you do have that, please attach that. But if you do not have a passport quite yet, then of course any official ID from your country will be sufficient. Then we have a question about how you are proving your language skills. So if you just go down a bit, you can choose which test, for example, you have done. So if you've done the IELTS, you can just click that one, and there you will open information where you can write your test, your TRF number, and of course upload the attachment of that particular test. And then we are moving on to parts of the University of Turku. So here we are asking a few more questions about your degree. For example, about the basis of your eligibility, which means what if you've marked down more than one degree, which degree you are using to apply to the university, which is the degree that we are evaluating for you. And then, of course, a very important part is, do you wish to apply for a scholarship? So there you can choose that, well, I don't need a scholarship, I'm not paying tuition fees. I do have to pay tuition fees and I want to apply for a scholarship, or I have to pay tuition fees, but I do not wish to apply for a scholarship. It's up to you which one you are choosing, but you can choose any of these. And then there's some information about the scholarship. And then this particular program requires you to attach a motivation letter. So here there's information about what the motivation letter must include, and then you upload the attachment here. Once you've fulfilled this, you can check all of your answers. For example, here you can see that there's 23 answers that need to be checked, which means that we haven't actually written anything in the questions. So once this checking part doesn't appear there anymore, you know that you've answered all of the questions. And then you simply, you can preview your application if you wish. And after that, of course, you will submit it. And after it's been submitted, you have an additional week to check that you have actually attached all of the documents there. So this is very simple. You just follow the instructions and fill in all of the parts that are opening up for you when you are filling in the application. So this is what it looks like. I hope it didn't look like it's too difficult. It's a bit difficult to explain it to you, but once you are there filling it in, it should be quite straightforward, and you will just be able to give the information that what is your educational background and so forth, and we will then be able to make the decisions based on that. But now I believe we have time for questions, quite a lot of it, which is good. So any questions that you may have there, we will answer them. Please write your questions to the Q&A. We will not be able to give you the chance to actually ask us questions with a mic. So just write them in the Q&A. And I think we can go actually to this one because there's a few of the basic information about our admissions is here. But let's start with any questions that we have. Paula is going to read them out to us and we will answer with Tuuli.
Okay, the first question is, I have completed my bachelor's in English language, so I'm able to apply for master studies without a language test. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct in some cases. So it is now very important to check which country that degree was done in. So you have to check it from our website. It's only specific countries that you can prove your language skills with that degree. So other countries have to, even if the degree is in English, have to prove your language skills in a test.
Yeah, so basically if you've done your previous degree in an EU country, in Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, or the US, then you can prove your language skills with those degrees. Otherwise, you will have to go to a language test.
Okay, thank you. The second question is, what is the criteria of fully funded scholarship?
Yes, well, I didn't go into details about scholarship this time, but yes, of course. So if you are looking for a scholarship, the criteria for scholarships is exactly the same. That is the criteria for that particular program. So if you are applying to the program and you are one of the best applicants to that particular program and you are chosen, then you will be offered a scholarship. So basically, so we do not have any means testing. We do not look at any additional documentation. We just look at your academic credentials, your possible motivation letter, which may be asked by the program, or anything else that the program is asking for. And then when the program is going through your applications, they will put all of the applicants in order from the very top applicants to those that are not quite so good, but are still really good students to be admitted. And then the top students from that group will be offered a scholarship.
Thank you, Johanna. The next question is there any construction industry related master's degree programs at the University of Turku?
Not directly, no. No, that is not a field that we are teaching at the moment.
Okay. Let me see. Okay, there's a specific question about the language test. So someone writes, I am eager to join your university, but the problem is my IELTS exam is on the 6th of January. It's risky for me to give my certificate within the date. Can I submit my IELTS PAN score after this date?
Well, you can submit it or add it to your application until the 24th of January. But if you do not have it by that time, then unfortunately we would not be able to admit you because we cannot accept any late documentation.
Okay, thank you. The next question is there a wait list in the admissions?
Yes, there is a wait list in the admissions.
In scholarships.
In scholarships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In scholarships, we have a waiting list, but for the actual admission, no. We admit a little bit more than is the quota for the programs, but we do not have any wait list for actual admissions.
Yeah, sorry, I was answering for scholarships, and there is a wait list. Yes.
Yeah. there's also a question about if someone majors in English in a university and will have a diploma of that, will they still need a language test?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Quick question, quick answer to that one.
Yes. And there's also a question, someone has done 1-year master's degree program in mechanical engineering in Sweden, and they are also wondering if they need a language test done.
Well, if that degree was done in English and the degree certificate, a transcript of records or diploma supplement clearly states that this degree was done in English, then you can use that as proof of language skills because Sweden is an EU country.
Okay, thank you. Then there's a program-specific question. So there's the question, please, can I apply for the master's degree program in inequalities, interventions, and new welfare state with a bachelor's degree in mass communication?
That is a bit too specific for us to answer right now. We'd have to actually go and check from the criteria of the particular program, and I don't have my computer here, so I won't be able to answer that. But please check the website of the program, and there's contact information on that website as well, where you can send an email and ask if you're not quite sure if you are interpreting the information correctly.
Okay, thank you. There's also a question, do you have any tips for the motivation letter?
Well, my tips for the motivation letter is to really know what program you are applying to show the academic staff that you have understood what you are wishing to come here to study, that you understand the program, and you explain why you would want to complete this degree.
Yeah, and in most cases, there's actually specific questions already given that the academic staff wishes you to answer. So make sure you answer those questions as well. I believe we also have some tips on motivation letters from our ambassadors, which you can find from our website. So maybe if Paula, can you? Yeah, Paula will put the link there for you guys to see, so you can check that information as well.
Okay, while I'm searching for the link, there's also a question of what is the acceptance rate of the master's programs?
That depends very much on the program. But in general, I have to say that our programs are very popular, which means that we do get quite a few applicants to our programs. However, not all of the applicants fulfill the basic requirements like language and so forth, which means that those students that actually fulfill the requirements have, again, a better chance of being admitted. I can't remember if we have a general admission rate counted because there are such big differences from the programs. But I'd say if you've chosen the right program, that you really want to be in that program, you have the right kind of background, you are fulfilling your language requirements, and you have done well in your previous studies, so above average, you already have a fairly good chance of being admitted. But unfortunately, I don't have the admission rate percentages for you right now.
Thank you. There's a question. As an EU citizen, do I still have to pay tuition fee?
No. EU citizens do not pay tuition fees. They are only for students coming from outside the EU.
Okay, there's maybe a bit hard question, but there's a question of, is it hard to get in the master's program?
Well, I think most of the work has been already done in your previous studies, so now you only have to fill in the application and show your motivation in the program-specific way. So
yeah,
it's a hard question to answer.
A bit sort of what I just answered in the previous one is that if you've done well in your previous studies and so on, it shouldn't be too difficult. But of course, many of our programs are really popular, which means that they get a lot of applicants to the program. So you do have to stand out. So please make sure that you do fulfill all the requirements, and you put a lot of effort into your possible motivation letter, or even in one of our programs, we actually have a motivation video.
Yeah.
So make sure that you put a lot of thought into that, making sure that you do your best in making those.
Thank you. There's also a question if there is any other options for the language test rather than the IELTS or the TOEFL.
So yeah, IELTS, TOEFL. Then we also accept PTE, and then the Cambridge C1 and C2.
Okay, thank you. Let me see.
Yeah, because maybe someone is already asking, we do not accept the Duolingo test.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a question. Is a recommendation letter required to apply? If it's not required, can we still attach recommendation letters?
So I would say only attach the documents asked from you. So no other documents are evaluated.
Yeah. In some of our programs, they do ask for, I think, recommendation letters if you have them, but please check the actual admission criteria of the program. And if they're not asking for something, there's no point really in attaching it because they will not go through them. They will not go through any documents that are extra, documents that are not part of the admission criteria.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar already with the program's specific criteria, I highly recommend that you go to our website and find the master's degree program there. And when you scroll down the page, you find the program specific criteria. And that will answer many of your questions.
Exactly.
Thank you. There's a question. If someone has a related work experience, would that help them to get accepted at the University of Turku?
In some degrees, yes. So also depending on the degree program.
Okay, I don't know if we can answer this directly, but there's a question about, there has been some questions about rolling admissions and also like questions about why we only have one intake per year. Do we have an answer for that?
Well, we only have one intake per year, first of all. So we do not have any other options. So if you cannot apply now, unfortunately, you would have to wait for another year. We have various reasons for it, but the main reason is that we want to make sure that we admit students early enough to give them enough time to actually be able to take care of all the formalities that you need to take care of before you arrive to Finland. So getting your accommodation in order, making sure that you get the residence permit, taking care of your finances, whatever may be needed. So there's quite a lot of things you need to do. So we want to make sure that people have time to do that. And so we haven't opened any additional application times.
Okay, thank you. There's a really good question on the Q&A now. So there's a question, how does one write a motivation letter as a requirement for the application under the joint application program if one applies to different programs in Finnish universities? So I think that this person is thinking that they have to write one motivation letter only.
Yeah, so each of the degrees you are applying to have separate attachments. So in this case, if you would apply to programs that all have a motivation letter, you would write separate letters for each program.
Okay, thank you. There's also a question that states first that our master's degree programs are designed for contact teaching. So they are curious of if those programs would be suitable for someone who is working also during their studies.
Well, of course, working during your studies is something that it's a personal choice. We, from the university side, do not really have an opinion on that. So if you want to work during your studies, you can. But then you need to make sure that you can still also follow your degree. And you can follow all of the courses. Some of them may be during the daytime, which may make working a bit difficult. But also, of course, you do not have to graduate within 2 years. So it can also take you longer. But of course, if you are from outside the EU, that would mean that you would have to pay for additional semesters. But it is possible to work. We don't really recommend full-time work during your studies because that's usually very difficult to manage, but there is really nothing stopping you from doing that as well. So it really is a personal choice on if you wish to do that. But then you do need to do a lot of planning and making sure that you can still attend the courses that are held, as I said, during the daytime.
Okay, thank you. There's a question about the Finland scholarship. So does it cover 2 years or only 1 year for the program?
Right. The Finland scholarship is for 2 years in the sense that it does cover the tuition fee for both study years in a master's, but the €5,000 grant is only paid once. So you get that for the first year, but you do not get it for the second year.
Okay, thank you. There's a question regarding the selection process. Are there any conditions or situations which will determine one's conditional or unconditional offer?
Yeah, so the conditional means if you are admitted to the program, but you haven't graduated yet, then you will receive your offer conditional on the condition that you graduate before the certain day.
Yes, and also technically we will actually admit all students conditionally because the condition will be there until you provide us with the original documents by the end of May. But other than that, we don't have any conditions, either if you haven't graduated or if you still haven't provided us with the original documents after admission.
Okay, thank you. There's also a question of can someone apply if they have an expired passport?
Yeah. Yes. Yes, we do not require you to have a passport. It's not a part of our admission criteria.
Good questions today.
Yeah,
yeah,
and I'm looking at there's quite a lot of them as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
But unfortunately, we only have the 1 hour assigned for this, so we will have to stop at 4 o'clock sharp. But if there are then any questions we haven't answered, we will see if we can compile a Q&A for you and send it to people who have participated. But we will see how that would work. But we'll see. There's still quite a lot of time, so I'm sure we'll be able to answer quite a few questions.
Okay, the next question is about scholarship. So this person is wondering how many students apply for a scholarship?
How many students? Well, I'd say about 98% of those students who need to pay apply for the scholarship. So basically everyone applies. Then we award the scholarships to maximum 30% of students admitted to that particular program. So if we have a program that has 30 students coming in, and if they're all fee-paying students, then we will offer a scholarship to 30% of those 30 students. So the top 30% of that particular intake would get a scholarship.
Okay, thank you. There's also a question, does the documents need to have apostille?
Not during the application time, no. After, if you are then admitted to the university, we have very specific country requirements, which we would then have to read through and see if your country is among the ones where we would require an apostille. But during the application, no need to look for that quite yet.
Okay. There's a question, when are the scholarship announcements made?
4th of April.
Yeah, at the same time as the all of our results.
There's a question, is it mandatory to have a bachelor's in relevant field if I have relevant work experience in the field?
It is required to have a bachelor's or other first level degree, so some sort of degree is required.
Yeah, and then it would depend on the program on what is the final requirement, but in most cases, yes, you would need to have a relevant degree.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, how much attendance does the studies require?
This is something we can't really answer because there are so many different degree programs. All of them require some attendance, and others more and others less. If you are really interested into knowing how much approximately is required, you can contact the program, but we are not able to give you definite answer.
Okay. The next question is if there are any on-campus jobs that the students can apply for that can help them pay for their master's studies if they don't get the scholarship.
Well, sorry, very few actually. But most of our students do work during their studies part-time in hospitality industry, for example, and so on. So there's opportunities for work, yes, but on campus, not that many really.
Okay. The next question is if there are interviews for the admission process.
Yeah, in some cases, yes. So it really depends on the degree program, and some of them have interview.
The interview will be online, so you don't have to travel to Finland for it.
And it can be already, you can already find the information on the interviews on the website, on the program-specific criteria.
Okay, the next question is, does the motivation letter play an important role for getting a scholarship?
If it plays a big role in the actual admission, because as I said earlier, the scholarship decisions are based on the exact same criteria that is used for the admission. So if you are admitted as the best student in that particular program, you will be offered a scholarship. If you are admitted to a program and you're not among the top 30% of that program, you would not be offered a scholarship. So it depends on the program. We don't evaluate the scholarships separately. For the scholarships, we use the same listing that is done for the actual admission.
Okay, thank you. There's also a question from a Finnish participant, and they are asking if they need to obtain a certificate of English language skills if they have completed their bachelor's degree at a Finnish university or completed a matriculation examination in Finland.
Well, if you've done a matriculation exam in Finland and your grade is C or more in English, they can use that. Or if your previous degree, you've done English studies and the degree certificate has, it states that you've gotten the language level of English that is used in your particular field. This is a very specific law text that is usually in Finnish degree certificate. So in most cases, I would say that you already have proof of language skills, but in rare cases, you would need to do also a language test. But I'd say most Finnish applicants already have the background that they can prove it with what they've done earlier.
Okay, thank you. The next question is, if we send our original documents, are we going to get them back? And how do we send the original documents to University of Turku?
Do you want to answer this?
You can answer this
Okay. Well, yes, of course you will get them back. We will take care of them and you will get them back if you send the actual originals. We will require you to send us the originals or the certified copies, which means that they've been certified by the institution that has awarded the degree. They can be sent to us via post, but we do recommend using courier services because the postal services, you can never know what happens with the documents, unfortunately. But with courier services, or then there's also possibilities of sending them by electronic means. So they may be, if they are electronically verifiable, we will also accept that. There's quite a lot of information about this already on our website, and any admitted students will get quite a lot of information on how this is actually done and how to provide the documents. But if you are sending us the original documents, we will of course keep them safe and return them to you once you arrive in Finland and start your studies.
Thank you. And there's also a question that was answered before, but there's a question, is there any fee for application?
No, we don't have any fees for application.
Okay. There's also a question, can I apply for a program that is not related to my course of studies?
Well, that goes again on all of our programs do require you to have certain background in that particular field to actually succeed in that program, but it does depend on the program and sort of how rigid they are with this requirement. So you will not have that information in the website of the program on what is the actual admission criteria for that program and what do they actually require. But if your degree has nothing to do with the field that you're applying to, it's rather rare that you could actually be admitted.
Okay, thank you. There's also a question, does the university offer any discounts in restaurants or transport, for example, for the students?
You want to talk about the student card?
Yes, I can talk about this one. So yes, all of our degree students are part of the student union. And then you receive a student card, which you can use for many discounts. Our most popular discount is the student lunches that are offered once a day for you with the price of €2.95. So then you get a full meal with that one. So that's our most used discount. And then you also get a discount on public transportation, some shops and other places in Turku. Turku is a very student-friendly city, so many places here have discounts for students.
Okay, I'm just scrolling through the questions. There's a lot of questions still unanswered, but I am trying to pick up questions that would help out as many as possible, because there's quite a lot of questions that are like related to just one degree program. So I would suggest that you go through the program page, and there's also the contact information for that particular program that you can also always ask if you have any questions. And there has also been quite a lot of questions if this presentation will be shared or if this recording will be shared. So this will be shared on our websites and on our Future with Uttu newsletter as well.
Good. Yeah.
Okay, there's a question about scholarships again. So is there only scholarships like 100% scholarships, or are there any like 50% scholarships, for example?
Right. At the moment, we are only offering the full scholarships which means that it covers the whole tuition fee. We do not have any partial ones offered.
Okay. Okay, there's a question. Okay, maybe we have answered this a bit earlier, but there's also a question about if they can add their work certificates on their applications.
Yeah, this goes to if the program is asking for that kind of information, then please do attach it. But if the program does not ask for work certificates or any other additional documentation, please don't add it, because no one will have a look at it anyway. So really, there's no point.
Okay, thank you. There's also a question if there might be a motivation video required in some of the degrees.
Yeah, so some of our programs do have a motivation video, but you will find that out in the program.
I think for next admission round we have it in one program, which is the East Asian Studies program. So they require a motivation video. For the others, it may be a motivation letter, or then they may not ask for one at all. And then in some programs, there's an interview, which means that they invite the best applicants for an interview and then make the final decision based on the interviews.
Because we have still a few weeks before the application time starts, it's now a very good time to go through the criteria for the admission in the degree program you are most interested in. So if you still have questions after you have read those, you can contact the program and receive more information before the application period starts.
Exactly.
Okay, there's another question. This person has completed a master's degree, and they are wondering if it has something. Does it have like a negative effect if they already have a master's from somewhere else?
No. You can also actually apply with the master's if the master's is more relevant for that particular program you're applying to. So it is possible. It's really up to you then on whether you want to apply with the master's or with the bachelor. So we've still got 6 minutes left.
Yeah.
So if Paula can find us a few good questions, we'll be happy to answer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice to have so many of you here today joined.
Exactly. That's yeah. When the questions are very specific, then really we can't answer them on an event like this. But you can always contact the programs; they may be able to answer your questions. But also, please do have a look at the admission criteria of the program you're interested in first, because the answers may already be there.
Yeah.
I'm going through the questions, and there's a lot of questions that we have already answered to, and then there's also a lot of questions that are really specific.
Okay.
Okay, maybe this one could be a good question to answer. So if someone wants to apply for a master's degree that has teaching in Finnish, do they still have to have proof of English language skills?
Well, what we've been talking about here is admission to our international programs, which means that the teaching is in English, apart from the one international program which the teaching is in Finnish. So if they're talking about the Finnish and Finno-Ugric languages program, then that is actually taught fully in Finnish, which means that they do not have to have proof of language skills, but they do have to have language skills in English. They have to have proof of language skills in Finnish. And this actually goes for any other programs that are offered at the university that are taught in Finnish. So if you're interested in applying to those, you would have to prove your Finnish language skills in similar ways actually than it is done for the English taught programs.
Okay, there's also a question that someone has a sibling who lives in Finland and is a taxpayer in Finland, and they are thinking or wondering if they have to still pay for the tuition fee.
The tuition fee is based on your residence permit status, which means that we do not take into consideration any relatives maybe living in Finland, for example. It's what your permit says. And if you do not have a permit in Finland, that means that you would be paying tuition fees.
Okay, we still have 3 minutes left, and if you have any questions that would be a bit more, not that specific, it would be great, so that then we can answer as many
but
questions.
I think what I can do is recap a bit on sort of the timeline, and things that you should maybe be doing is checking which programs you are interested in. Sorry. Are you interested in which programs at the university? Making sure that you read and understood the admission criteria for those programs, and then making sure that you have all of the documentation ready when the application time begins on the 3rd of January, because then we only have 2 weeks time in which you have to fill the whole application, you need to answer all the questions, and then attach all of the documentation. So be prepared, and in that way you will also already be a step ahead of some of the other applicants who have not done their homework.
Okay, thank you. There is a new question that says, will there be tuition fee refunds if someone's visa is denied?
Well, if you are not able to arrive to Finland and you haven't started your studies, then yes, we would refund your paid tuition fee.
And there's also a question, I am a current master's student in some other country, which is not completed. Can I apply for the University of Turku based on my previous bachelor's degree?
Yes, of course. Frankly, we don't know how we would be able to check that you are studying in another country unless you tell us. So, and anyway, studying somewhere else is not doesn't affect your admission to our university in any negative way. So it's not a problem if you wish to apply to the university, even if you are currently doing a master's somewhere else.
Okay, there's also a question, will age affect on the fact if someone is having a scholarship? For example, this person is 38 years old and is wondering if that has any.
So no, age doesn't have any.
No, we don't make any decisions at the university based on age, gender, social, economic status, where you come from, your nationality, your religious, any religion, anything like that. We don't make any decisions based on anything like that. So anyone, any age, any gender, anything is on the same line as everyone else.
Okay. I think we could take one last question. So there's a question. I would like to continue the PhD after my master's degree. Are there opportunities for such at the University of Turku?
Yes, we have opportunities for that. And I don't know if Paula has time to link the page for that, because we really can't, we don't have time here to talk about that more, but you can find more information on the page linked there.
Yeah. I mean, we've got a good PhD program at the university, and many of the students on that program are actually our graduates. So certainly a good opportunity for you.
Yeah, and thank you for joining us for this webinar. You can, if you still had some questions, you can reach us in the email written there. So admissions@utu.fi. And then if you have some program specific questions, you can contact the program.
Program directly. So please, if you have any questions, you can contact us. For now, we want to wish you a good end of the day, and thank you very much for your good questions and activity during the presentation.